First of all, President Peter, Rotarians and guests, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Kim Saville to you today. Now, Kim spoke to us, she says 2 years ago. I thought it was 3, but there you go. It was in the McLaughlin room over on the western side of this particular football oval. And Kim spoke then about the St Jude, the School of St Jude. And she's going to give us an update today on this particular school. Kim is now a member of the E-Club of the Greater Sydney, which is rather interesting, living in Tanzania. And Kim has been with the school, I think, for something like 12 or 13 years, or longer. And she travels around the world about 2 or 3 months each year, trying to raise money for this particular school. Every student that goes there does not pay 1 cent in school fees, and they now have something like 1,600 or 1,700 students there. It started in 2002, and it's gradually grown. Each year they've been taking in somewhere around about 150 young students, and this year, I think it is, or last year, they'll have their first graduation, which is a fantastic achievement. So what I would like to do now is to introduce Kim to give you an update on the School of St Jude. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Ray. Okay. So there we are. We're in Tanzania. We're in the place that's absolutely nowhere near Ebola. Everybody asks me, why didn't we all evacuate? But we're nowhere near it, way over on the East Coast, nowhere near it at all, more likely to get it here in Sydney. Beautiful part of the whole of the continent, one of the very peaceful countries. It's the centre of the tourist industry. People come here in flocks. We have hundreds of thousands of visitors a year coming because we are near the Serengeti, the Ngorongoro Crater, Lake Manyara, and just around the corner from where we are. So, and I want to also point out that elephants are disappearing very, very quickly. They say within probably another 15 years there will be no elephants left in Tanzania. In Africa, we will not have had our elephants either. Around about 60, 70,000 a year are disappearing. They're not disappearing, they're being killed and their ivory is being poached. Poaching is a huge problem, as of course, for all our animals. So quickly come to Tanzania and have your safari and see the big five. Climb Kilimanjaro if you're, is there anyone climbed Kilimanjaro? I always talk about as if I know what I'm talking about, but this is actually as closest to the top of Kili I'm ever going to get, flying past. So, but people do come and climb Kilimanjaro, and then they head off to Zanzibar. Magnificent island off the coast, a lot of historical interest in Zanzibar. So the people who come really do see the exotic, the amazing, the wonderful, and they're looked after very, very well. Of course, for the people who actually live there, it's a totally different story. Their life is one of struggle and hardship. It's the back streets, as you can tell, this is just behind our school. The people who really are struggling day to day to survive, to eat, 86% of the population are living on $1 or less a day. Most of them would not have an education, or if they did, it wouldn't be past primary school, and they would be doing jobs such as hard manual labour. One of the biggest problems we have there, of course, is child slave labour, prostitution, street kids. It's pretty devastating for most of the population. Wonderful, beautiful, relaxed, very kind, generous people who are struggling very, very much. This is the one reason why St Jude's is there. And when I arrived in 2002, this was the school. 2 little buildings. Gemma met me off the plane and said, righto, this is the school. I was coming out for 3 months to do what I could to help out. And I figured that my working in film and television casting, which I've been doing in Sydney, was not necessarily a prerequisite for running a school in Tanzania, but I would have some skills. 13 years later, I'm still there working alongside Gemma to make sure that we really are providing a high-quality education for the poorest of the poor children. Very much a hands-on in the very early days. It was This is actually not us building anything. This is actually us tearing down something when we discovered that the builders who were working on the first building that we got with a platform, one of the building, I said to Gemma, there must be a good reason for why we've got one end of the platform here and the other end of the platform here. And I said, I'm quite sure that, what is it, tank stand or something? And she said, no, it's a complete stuff up. So we've got to quickly go down and pull it down. So we did. This is the day we were form working. These are the things that we learned. We learned that we couldn't always rely on the quality of the work. But one thing, we're now working on every part of St Jude's, whether it's the teaching, whether it's the security guards or the cooks, the cleaners, everybody understands the pursuit of excellence. It's not just about doing a job, it's not just about getting something done, it's about doing it to the best of your ability and to helping those people really attain their highest potential, not just our students but our staff as well. Excuse me. So after that start with the little building and the few children, we then, of course, were able to find people who are prepared to go on and help us and continue to help us. So we've built a lot more classrooms. We've also added boarding, which we realised was necessary for these students. These kids came from families and from areas where they were in danger of being severely, deprived. In many respects, they're also going to be under pressure, sort of the deprivation of their safety, their security in their own homes made it necessary for us to provide boarding so that not only were they going to develop mentally, but also physically they were going to be safe and healthy as well. So boarding was necessary. We also, of course, realised the bigger we got, we had a huge number of staff. We now have over 380 staff members, Tanzanian staff members. These people who are now adding, you can understand, well, we have 1,900 students. From the 3 that we started with 13 years ago, 1,900 students now have a full quality education at the School of St Jude, which means that they not just attend classes, but they have science laboratories, they have magnificent libraries with age-appropriate books on each campus. They also have the computer laboratories. As I said, we have over 500 computers at the school. Right from grade 1, those little kids are learning computers. It's an English medium school, and it was necessary for them to be speaking English, learning computers, and their science graduates actually have hands-on experience in the science laboratories. Other students don't in Tanzania. Things we take for granted like science laboratories and computers and even sports fields and art and music, that doesn't happen in other schools. But we understand that for a holistic education, it's really important to provide these. So these kids really are going to turn out to be the really important leaders in their community, the leaders in Tanzania, if not Africa. So, and of course, we will continue to enrol 150 students every year. This is the school now. These are the buildings that we have. We want the children to understand that we appreciate them, we also value them, and we respect them. A lot of people have said to us, you've spent a lot of money on that school, you probably could have spent a little less and made a couple more schools. Well, why should we deprive them? Why shouldn't they have as good a schools that we have in Australia and around the world? These kids deserve that as well. And we want them to understand that this is what your country should look like. This is what your schools should look like. They shouldn't be shacks with barely any walls or windows or doors. Your education should be high quality for everybody there, and it's really important for them to know so that when they start leading in the community, they're the sort of things that they will expect in Tanzania and that they will demand as well. This is important for them to know that. So the children who come from the poorest of the poor families. I'm sure most of you understand what the school is there doing, but we really are looking for the children who do have the aptitude and the attitude to really deserve a high-quality education. These are the children who are never going to have a chance in education otherwise. So 150 children out of about 10,000 children a year. This is what we get on a Saturday between July and December. These are the children who are queuing. Well, there's a few of the children anyway, who are queuing to ask for a place at the School of St Jude. They do a little academic test, a little bit of reading, they have to answer a few questions, they pass that, they go into probation. They spend 2 weeks of probation at the school where we can just check that they really do have the right attitude to be there, not just about their academic ability, but we want them to show us that they really do have an interest in education and have inquiring minds as well. So then we check that their homes, that they really do come from the poorest of the poor families. These are the children who come from the inner city suburbs. They might come from the remote villages up the mountains, or they might come from the Maasai Plains further outside Arusha. But all of them come within, or they have to either get to a spot within 40 kilometres of the school, because that's how buses go and collect the little ones every day and bring them back. So grades 1 to 4 are working, they're day kids. 5, 6 and 7 are the weekly boarders who are in the boarding house during the week, and our senior students are boarding full-time. This has been really, really important for, as I said, their health and also their continuing education. The day, of course, that is the most exciting of the whole year is the day when the children really do find out that they have become the next little dudes of St Jude's. These are the kids who get their blue uniforms in November and are told, these are yours. You get to keep these and you get to wear these when you first start the school back in January. It is an incredibly emotional day. These kids have gone through a lot of tests, a lot of checking, and a lot of probably, sort of anticipation and not quite sure, but now they know that they really are going to be the ones whose lives have changed. They no longer will be caught in the poverty cycle into which they were born, and they do have a chance to escape that. But of course, nobody's more excited than their parents are. It's the parents who really, really are over the moon. The ululating, the crying, the sobbing, the excitement when those children walk out the gates in their blue uniform is something that is so emotional. In fact, they now know that they've got a child who's going to change their lives. They don't have a superannuation. They don't have the pension scheme. They have a child who's going to have a good education. This child is now expected to work hard, get a good job, get a good wage, and look after them for the rest of their life as well. So it's probably a good thing that little child at the age of 5 or 6 is unaware of fabulous opportunity, wonderful potential, but huge responsibility and a huge burden on their shoulders as well for the next 13 years, and then on to high school as well, on to tertiary college. So we now know that those children's lives have changed, those families' lives have changed. It has made a huge difference. For that reason, we have a one child per family policy. So now we have 1,900 children at the school and 1,900 families whose futures are a lot brighter because they have a child with an education. But it's not just the children who benefit. You can imagine our staff. We have, as I said, 380 staff. These people are all helped to upskill their positions as well. So young Valentina, who started with us as a single mum, desperate for a job, we gave her a job as a cleaner. She has now had English and computer study courses, the opportunity given to her, and she's now running one of our departments in the administration. Felix, who started as a driver, is now one of our top Tanzanian people working in our visitors department and has actually travelled to Australia. Has he visited you guys yet? Have you met Felix? Not yet. Hopefully one of his trips you'll meet Felix and he'll be able to tell you of his story as a Maasai boy who is now working at St Jude's. So we really look after everybody, the surrounding family as well, not to mention, you can imagine all the people who offer us all the goods and services in Tanzania, the people who provide us with all our the rice, the beans, the maize, the vegetables. The little lady who used to sell us a punnet of tomatoes 10 years ago now sells us 40 baskets of tomatoes when we go shopping every week. The man who was the little bookshop that we got a few of our textbooks from, he now has 2 shops because Case Bookshop has been, they're the ones we always get our textbooks and all our stationery from. Mr. Olotu, who was our first trustworthy hardware man, we found that actually the things that we bought from him worked for a little longer than a week, so we continued to use him, and now he has 5 hardware shops in Arusha. And so St Jude's has poured so much money into the community as well. Now these people are able to send their children to a good school. Their children can afford. So the ripple effect just goes on. It's quite extraordinary, and we continually get people coming up to us in the street and just saying, Asante sana mama, zuri sana. It's so good that you've built St Jude's here because we're all benefiting so much. So from now on, it's very, very exciting because we've got our graduation in 2 weeks' time. Now, these are the first kids, the little ones who started with me in 2002, and now these amazing, strapping young men and women who are winning national competitions, international competitions as well, in science and literature. So what they're going to be doing soon after the graduation, the Form 6s, they'll be going back into the community, and for a year they will be giving back to show their gratitude for the fact that they've had 13 years of high quality free education. They'll be they'll be helping at St Jude's, but they'll be going into the government schools as well, where there are 50,000 teachers lacking in the government schools in Tanzania. So our students will be helping out in that way. And the Department of Education is very thrilled about this because they realise that the students from St Jude's are actually, the qualification level that they've got to is as good as, if not better than, some of the teachers that they have from the teachers' colleges. So people like our young Simon are also going to be learning skills where he will be working in our visitors department, which reminds me that we have over 2,000 visitors a year, and most of them Rotarians. Rotarians are able to come to the school and stay for free. You can spend a week with us. So when you've finished climbing Kilimanjaro and you've maybe gone out on safari and seen the last of the elephants, on your way to Zanzibar, come and spend a few days with us at St Jude's, and we can show you exactly what this extraordinary Rotary project has come to. I mean, we really understand that without Rotary, we wouldn't have St Jude's. Rotary and Rotarians, Rotary International, Rotary clubs around the world are the backbone of St Jude's. It's been the clubs that have come out and helped us build our furniture and our buildings. It's the clubs that have helped us, supported our buses, sponsored our children. We're extremely grateful, and I've probably got a slide here somewhere. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we will continue to roll 150 children every year. We'll welcome our visitors, and our sponsorship program there is very easy to get hold of on the website. Any information you want, all information about the school is there. We're very grateful to a volunteer who provided us with that. And we also have, so for example, that's our sponsorship scheme. We also have an appeal on at the moment where if you've got a cool $5, $50,000, $500,000 lying around, you might like to put it towards the nutrition or the teaching technology or boarding, a new bus, something that the school is desperately looking for at the moment. And if you are considering writing your will, you might like to think that one of our students might like to have a tertiary program, help with their tertiary program as well as your children. So thank you so much for allowing me to come back and update you. And I don't know whether we've got time for questions and answers. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, that was fascinating. Thank you so much. I know a little sadly the political state of Zanzibar. Is it politically stable? You may have said that, right?
Oh, sorry, there's of Tanzania. Sorry, of Tanzania? Yes, actually it's interesting you talk about Zanzibar separately because sometimes it does think that it's separate, but that was when it was Tanganyika. But they still are fairly autonomous. Zanzibar itself is just going through a little bit of a tricky problem, the last thing I read recently, but it's never ever for very long. The good thing about Tanzania is that the Muslims that we have there are very moderate Muslims. In fact, the only problems we've had are some of the fundamental Muslims trying to encourage the moderate Muslims to come on board with their jihad, or whatever it is that they want to do, or go and join ISIL or whatever. But the Tanzanian Muslims, and the country is half-half. Most predominantly Muslim on the coast, predominantly Christian inland. At the school we have about 15-20% Muslim students at the school. We have many Muslim staff as well, because that's the dynamics of the area. We don't select along any criteria. It's a I've lost the word. Yes, it's non-denominational. That was the word, that tricky word. So it's a Christian school, and everybody understands that it's Christian, and you can certainly bring your Muslim children to test out if you like on the understanding that it will be a Christian-based school, and they're fine with that. We also allow them to go to mosque on Fridays, and we acknowledge, because Tanzania acknowledges all holidays, Muslim and Christian holidays. It's interesting, of course, though, that the kids are not really that fundamental when it comes to Ramadan, and that their favourite meal on lunchtime is pilau. Nobody seems to be fasting. But when it's Makande, it's like, oh, no, I'm fasting, I'm Muslim, can't possibly eat that. So, yeah, they're selective. It is a democracy. It's ostensibly a multi-party democracy. We've got elections coming up in February. Kikwete has been in for two sessions, when did he get in? Must be 5 years, 5 years. So he'll be out in October, and it'll be interesting to see. But the same party has been in since independence. So not sure whether another party would get in, but yeah. It's very peaceful and safe.
John?
Do you teach them in English?
It is, yes, English medium. That's right. It's an English medium school. Right from grade 1, all classes are taught in English. They also learn Swahili as a language, but everything's taught in English, because we understand that they're not going to get work, and the country is not going to move up into being one of the developed countries unless the population can speak English.
That's interesting, Kim, because I thought some of our members have been to Tanzania. 2:30 on Saturday morning, Saturday morning they were speaking Swahili at Banham. David.
As a sponsor of your organisation,
Thank you.
and having been a sponsor of other organisations with children, I have to say that you are the best.
Thank you.
Every time one of our children gets an award, we get an email, and we get a photograph of this young child receiving this award. It's just fantastic. And then every few months, we'll get a letter written by this child to us, which is just wonderful. And recently, I know my wife wrote back to each of these children and told them how much they appreciated it. And next thing, we got an email from you people saying how much they appreciate it. So we feel very much involved. And if anybody in this room wants to sponsor a child, this is the place to go.
Thank you so much. Never seen that man in my life before.
Kim, would you like to tell them what it costs to sponsor a child?
Yes, it's well, we have many different sponsorship programs, so that you can actually become a sole sponsor of a student. That's $120 a month, or you can share the sponsorship and from $60 a month. But we also have packages where you take on a boarding room as well as sharing the sponsorship of a student. So that's about $120 a month as well. Or you can also help with the sponsorship of a bus. Or a teacher and a student. But if you go to our website, it has all the various options. But it ranges from about, between $60 and $120 a month for a sponsorship. But it's absolutely, we do pride ourselves on the fact that we keep everybody very informed. Not only do you get a full dossier on that child, so the photo you get of a child is not just symbolic of giving money to the school. You actually sponsor that child. You have contact with that child. When you come to visit us, you can go to that child's home and you'll meet the family. You'll meet all the people that were on the original dossier that you were sent, the 8 pages with photographs and information about the family. And we like the children to understand that they have a connection to these people. We have to make them understand also that it doesn't mean that just because the person has said, we'd love you to come to Australia one day, it means that you arrive at school with your suitcase the next day because you're going to Australia. We have to be very careful of that. We also have to remind our sponsors that they haven't adopted the child. They actually have parents. It's just the education. But that wonderful close relationship also makes the children very aware of their responsibility to work hard. But it's not just their family and the school and themselves, but a sponsor as well.
Sorry, no more questions. Okay, you can chat to Kim afterwards. Kim, thank you very much for that update. I think it was fantastic, and I agree with my brother David that the communications from the School of St Jude, if you're a sponsor, are just fantastic. I know my mother-in-law gave up sponsoring a child in another organisation because she never heard from them, she never heard how the child was getting on at school, etc., etc. So I can highly recommend sponsoring a child or sponsoring some part of the school at St Jude. Kim, thank you very much for talking to us today. I'm going to give you a book called Rotary Down Under, Humanity in Motion, which you most probably have never seen, even though you're in the E-Club, but you can take it home. This is a hard copy.
Thank you.
And thank
No,
you.
it's not.
Well, I call that a hard copy. Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you.
Well, hang on. I would also like... I'm also presenting a certificate of appreciation to the club. Thank you so much. And also a copy of our 10th anniversary book with a lot more details about the school. So I hope you'll share that and enjoy it.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank